Starting to make the beat. Welcome to the Ozarks Sports Report YouTube show. Here joined by the head coaches and one senior for the Creighton Pirates. That's Coach Bryan Harmon, Coach Tyler Martin, and Clay Stump, and Nick Brennan, who is a senior from 2019. And for today's show, we're going to be doing a season recap with the head coach of the Creighton Pirates and also the other coaches and Nick Brennan of the Creighton Pirates. Recapping the games from this season, Creighton went 25-20 with the overall record, with 14-8 in the fall and 11-12 in the spring. Their losses in the fall came to Morrisville, Licking, Conway, Galena, Mansfield, Wablo, Purdy twice in regular season play and in the SWCL championship. In the spring, Creighton's losses came to Reed Spring, Gainesville, Norwood, Russellville, Hollister, Galena, Conway, Purdy, Morrisville, Billings, Clever, and Purdy in the Class II District 6 championship. Guys, what was the main ingredient that you guys had going into both the fall and the spring seasons?
Well, coming into the fall, we knew we had lost a great deal of talent from last year with 5 seniors, and we wanted to try to not get our expectations too high early. But I feel like the kids in the fall really exceeded the expectations with that 14-8 record, playing for a conference championship, and that set us up for high expectations in the spring. And then we got off to a rough start in the spring, but we really turned it around at the end, and got hot at the end.
Yeah, towards the end of the spring, we finally found our stride. We had trouble closing out some games, but towards the end, we figured that out. We figured out how to pitch out of some jams and hit with people on base, and then it got us to a district championship and we just ran into a better team.
And I think part of it was the fact that we're kind of young, helped us. Sometimes you don't realize you're struggling. It's not as big of a deal. You kind of fight through it. Kids that age, a little more energetic, a little more ready to play.
My mentality was just to come in and play simple baseball, and then as the year went on, we started playing better simple baseball, and we just got better.
Getting better, that was. And what was the definition of both the fall and the spring season?
We had tough competition in both seasons, and we had some really great games in both seasons. So
I think overall it was just a lot of fun. A lot of fun to play. It's a new place for me. A lot of fun kids to be around. And I guess definition would just be enjoyable and good time for me.
Yeah, I think in the fall our hitting kind of carried us, and in the spring our pitching really carried us for sure.
Yeah, I feel like the fall got off to a good start, which was big for us. And being young sometimes can hurt you, but being young in this fall, I felt like we won a few games early, maybe not against the kind of competition we played in the spring, but our guys thought we were maybe a little better than we were, so we played better. And then in the spring, I do it on purpose. I load up the schedule, and we come in and we play big schools early. We play good schools early, and if we don't do that, we might have started off with a better record, but we probably don't play for a district championship if we're playing weak teams early.
Definitely don't play for a district championship when you guys play the weaker teams, so you schedule the most stronger teams. As what we saw during the fall last year, you guys scheduled Cheyenne, Oklahoma, and Licking, which those are 2 teams you guys have not played. Kind of tell me about that opening Saturday from the fall season, about when you guys played Cheyenne, Oklahoma, as well as Hartville and Licking.
It was going to be a great weekend. I was excited to play all 3 games. I was excited to see what each team could bring, and it was nice not knowing what any of them can do, because it just helped us figure out what we need to do.
I feel like those guys coming in, and our guys I don't think ever figured out or ever realized, maybe us as coaches didn't either, but we beat Hartville that first game and on that weekend, and they were good. And I don't think our guys realize sometimes, teams we've played that have been good against us, we expect them to continue to be good. And Hartville, we just didn't know anything about. And then we turned around in our wood bat tournament and beat them again. And Nick pitched about as well as he could pitch that night. And yeah, if we played like we did against Hartville the whole fall, we'd probably win 4 or 5 more games. If we play like in the spring like we did against Hartville those 2 games, we probably win 8 or 9 more games. It's just, and then Cheyenne was a young team like us, and we didn't know what to expect. We come out and played well. And Licking, we found out real quick that they were really good. We're scheduled against them in the spring, didn't work out and didn't get to play, but I'd like to see them coming in again this fall.
I know as for us coaches, it was nice because we could have a good sample size going into that next Monday after that weekend because we had a good summer, we had a good first 2 week of practice. We were just ready to see where we stacked up with our youth and stuff. So the whole weekend was pretty nice for us.
I thought, like you said, the weekend was great just because, with Cheyenne's kind of fun, playing someone different you don't see. I'm not sure if we have them again this year or not. We do. And Licking, I feel like they were one of the better teams we played for sure, and we played with them the whole game. I think that game was a really good learning experience for everybody. They had kids 1 through 9 that get hit, several kids who could really pitch, and we played really well that day. We lost, but I thought that was a great game for us.
Good game that was when you guys played Cheyenne as well as Licking and Hartville in the opening round of the season, in the opening part, or rather the opening week of the fall season. Now we got to talk about the wins. You guys had 25 wins overall, 14 wins in the fall and 11 in the spring. So what was the most important win that you guys had throughout both the fall and the spring season?
The most important win was probably the semifinal game against Billings. Both teams were just going at it, and we put our pride aside of losing the game to them before, and we just went all out and just completely destroyed the baseball against them, played defensively good, and we pitched great, so it was a good game.
Coach Harmon talked about it just a minute ago again, but I think both of our Hartville wins were pretty big for us because I think it allowed us later on to look back and realize how well they were playing and what their record was, and kind of show us that we were capable of beating some really good teams.
I'd probably have to go with first round districts against Wheaton. We kind of been struggling going into districts, and then us coaches were kind of just worried to see how our young guys would handle districts and stuff, and see if we'd overlook somebody. But we came out and we played pretty well.
I feel like I can look at 3 games that were key for us, and they were all against the same team. In the fall district or the conference tournament semifinal against Billings, we let them back in a game late, but we held on to win. And then the loss we had at Billings, sometimes you don't look at a loss and think, oh, that was good for us. But I think the way we lost in extra innings after we had come from behind. We lost to a walk-off home run, which always hurts. And that spearheaded us into the last game against Billings to where, I don't think Nick talked it up enough that he pitched well. And we hit it extremely well. People are thinking, oh, they probably won that one 8-1 or whatever. We won 16-0 against a team that had beaten us about 2 weeks earlier. I just think those were signature wins for our season.
Signature wins it was for the season. That was once again the game against Billings, and also the games against Billings in both the fall and the spring. And now we got to talk about another one that was really exciting. The most win that was very exciting throughout this season. What was the most exciting win that you guys had throughout this 2018 fall and 2019 spring seasons?
That's a tough one. I keep going back to that Billings district semifinal. Just, you don't think of a 16-0 win as exciting, but it's just the fact that we came out and did to them what we did after they had beaten us in the fashion that they had. A lot of things went against us that day. We didn't feel like anything went our way, and we didn't go into the district game against us thinking, oh, well, things might not go our way. We just went in and said, we're going to make things go our way, and we did that. So, to me, that was exciting. In the fall, we had a walk-off win against Cheyenne. They didn't have a great record. They didn't win any other games that weekend, but they weren't bad. They were a pretty good team. And I think another exciting win for us was the second time we played Gainesville over at Conway, because they had beaten us, and we thought we didn't play very well. They helped open our season on a bad note, and we come out and we really put it to them there. And seems like I keep going back to games that Nick pitched, and he threw a no-hitter that day. And I just don't think we can look past that one. That one was a key one too.
I I feel like we keep talking about some of the same teams over and over, but Billings again, it's not in the spring, but I feel like the conference semifinal in the fall at C of O, maybe it was probably one of the more stressful games we played. In the end, we were up, I think, 3 in the last inning, got bases loaded, and ended up they didn't score. So I think it was the most nerve-wracking, but at the end, it was most exciting because we kind of got out of a tough jam.
Yeah, I'd say for the fall, definitely the Gainesville one that we'd won, and then, that'd be in the spring, and then the fall one would be the Licking one to me. I feel like they were probably the best team we had played all fall and spring, and we were a couple hits here and there from being in that baseball game and almost winning that game with our youth. But I think overall, my favorite one would have to be the Billings one in the spring.
I'd have to agree with Clay and say Licking was probably my favorite game to play all year. Even though we did lose that game, it was nice to see that early in the year of how good some of these teams can be and how good we can be also, even though we were just 1 or 2 hits away from tying up the ball game several times.
And I want to speak up again one more time there. When you're trying to think of 2 seasons there's 40-some games, but there's just so many in there that things go our way and things don't go our way. But I feel like Isaiah Smith showed us a lot in the Conway game. We lost that one 2-0, I believe, against their number 1 pitcher, and Isaiah was as on as could be, and we knew he could be that good, but that made us feel better going into the district that we had that number 2 right there, right behind Nick, and that we could go compete there.
Going to compete there it is during the game where Isaiah Smith pitched very well, only giving up 2 runs against Conway, even though it was a loss for these Pirates. Now we got to move on to that topic of losses. And so, what was you guys say would be your most learning or educational loss you guys had throughout this season?
I go back to the first time we played Billings in the spring. I think we had to learn from that. If we didn't learn from that, we would have been quickly out of the district, and they would have been playing in district championship instead of us. And it's hard to lose a game like that. It's just another one of those tough ones that a bad team doesn't bounce back from, and a good team does. And we proved that we were a good team by bouncing back.
I think when we opened the spring with Gainesville and Reedsburg that same day, I think we lost both of those, and we started off on a bad note. And I guess you could say learning, because it kind of showed us as coaches the things we need to work on, things we need to do better.
I go to the one where we went to Aurora to play Clever on a Saturday, and we got our butts handed to us, and we got no hit. I know as the hitting coach, I had to learn from it, and I know our guys had to learn from it too, that we couldn't just show up and just beat a team that was a 3A team like that. And they realized the difference between those 2 classes, and I think our guys took it more serious after that. There's no telling what they did on that Friday night, but I think after that they focused in, and we had a better spring after that.
I'm going to have to agree with Coach Martin. That Gainesville game was a real eye-opener for everybody on the team and showing us that we're not the same team as we were in the fall, and we have to stay focused. And I think that was probably the biggest help of getting us to the district championship.
Big eye-opener it was during the spring season was that Gainesville game. And this Crane team, once again, they had a winning record during the fall, but a losing record in the spring, making it overall a winning record with 25-20. And now we got to talk about the most disappointing loss or toughest loss that you guys had to take. What would be your most disappointing or toughest loss you guys had to take in both the fall and the spring?
I'd say toughest was just the district championship against Purdy. Not because we lost to someone we shouldn't have or anything like that, but your season's over. Purdy drives me nuts. You can scout them and walk away thinking, yeah, we got a shot against these guys, and then you play them and you realize they're better than they look when you scout them. And it was the end of a career for Nick. A great accomplished career that ended with him appearing in the senior all-star game and things like that. It's just, to me, that's the toughest. You can always look back and see some successes, but when it's over, it's even if you, not that we ever expect to lose, but even if you think, oh, we might, this is going to be a tough one to handle, and when it's over, it just makes it tougher.
I honestly would just have to agree, just being, the last game, it's the last game of certain players and things like that. And really, part of it too was the day before that, we watched them play Prince City, a game they were definitely supposed to win. And they did, but they were losing at one point late in the game, I think. and they came back and won. And I think we kind of knew they were either going to come out the next day and be worried and struggle, or they were going to come out and play great, being that they almost lost in the semifinal. I think that's obviously what they did. They scored I don't know how many runs and played great baseball. I think that was kind of disappointing just because we really thought we had them in that one and it just didn't work out.
You know, we thought I have to agree with them. The last district championship game against Billings is probably the most devastating. You know, we thought maybe we could, keep up with them, even take the lead maybe sometime through the game. But once we all showed up and they kicked us a few runs in, and it just got harder because it's the last game of the season for us. And,
Yeah, I mean, of course, I'd have to agree with that too, just because, once you lose that game, you have to wait 365 days to play that game again, or, even possibly have to make it there. But, I mean, if I had to pick another one, I'd say our first Saturday of the spring when we lost to Reed and Gainesville on that doubleheader that day, that really set the coaches back and set the players back that, hey, we've got more work to do, and, this isn't going to be as easy as what the players thought.
Some accomplishments that we had to say that we were talking about after the spring season was that Nick Brandon, you were actually in the senior all-star game there at US Ballpark in Ozark. Tell me about what that experience was. What was it like to be in that senior all-star game there in Ozark?
It was a really cool experience. You get to see a bunch of just really great players throughout the state all on two teams, and you're playing against each other. And the atmosphere is just amazing because everybody's laid back, but everybody is wanting to win and do their job, just how baseball should be, and these guys are the best in the state at it.
And now, Coach Harmon, you were actually coaching one of the teams during the senior all-star game. Kind of tell me about your experience when you were coaching Nick Brandon one last time, and also other players that were, I believe, in the South Division in Missouri. So what was your experience like being to coach Nick Brandon once again, and also players that you've never coached before?
Well, I've had 3 opportunities to coach in that game, and it's always one of the most fun games you'll ever coach because it's going to be one of the best teams you'll ever coach because you got stars from everywhere. And getting to coach Nick one last time, getting to coach 3 of the Purdy kids who I've always had to coach against and we've always struggled with, and you get to know those kids over the years, and it's nice to be on their side for one day, and then just seeing the pitchers that came through there that I'm going here to pitch and go and play in college. This guy, I'm going to play in college, and you see why. You get up there, and usually in the beginning of those games, it's a little sloppy early. There's some guys kicking around. They haven't played ball in a couple of weeks, but then once it gets in its flow, everybody's talent comes out.
Everybody's talent does come out in that senior all-star game. And now, as we now move ahead to the fall and spring of 2018 and 2019, out into the fall of 2019 and 2020, what's going to be the main subject taught in the Pirate locker room? What's going to be different about what was going on during the fall and the spring of 2018 and 2019, and that will be now different in the fall of 2019 and the spring of 2020?
Well, I think the big key is, we have a good junior class. Not only a good junior class, we have a big junior class. They got experience as sophomores. They come in, and now they're not sophomores anymore. It's a little bit less of an excuse if they struggle, and they just have to push through, have to take care of things that they have to take care of. And, we're losing our leader in Nick, and, you can pick a captain. We don't do that, but you can pick a captain and tell someone they're the captain of your team. You can't pick a leader. Leaders are made within themselves. So we could, as coaches, we could sit here and say these 2-3 guys should be our leaders, but if they don't step up and lead, they're not our leaders. You can call someone. That's why we don't pick a captain. You can call someone a captain that doesn't make them. Nick was a leader because of the things he was able to do for the other players. A leader puts others ahead of himself and brings them up to his level. And we just, like I said, we got talent. We don't have a very big senior class coming back, but we've got talent in that class too. And this group can, 10 years down the road, this group that's coming through, they can be known as that team that was really good, or that team that really should have been really good but wasn't. And it's going to be all up to the what they do.
I think the big thing that kind of goes on what he said too is, as coaches and players both, we really have to push ourselves because we no longer, not that it was an excuse, we don't really have that excuse anymore of, we made that mistake because we're young. Obviously, we'll have to have a couple other classmen, playing most likely, but for the most part, will be juniors and seniors, and we don't really have that youth excuse anymore. So we got to push ourselves a little harder.
Yeah, I know. Hitting wise, we have to get better with making contact with people on base, and then fielding wise, we've got to quit putting so much pressure on ourselves to make plays. But most importantly, on both sides, we have to quit putting pressure on ourselves to be perfect, because we're not. And that's one thing these young kids have to learn, is they're going to mess up, and they just got to learn how to push through the failure.
Push through the failure it is. And now, Nick Brennan, as you depart the Crane baseball program, and now you're going to be watching it as a spectator, what do you think will happen next year throughout this Crane season? What do you think will be different in the locker room, as now you're not going to be in the locker room with these coaches? What do you think will be different for next year?
Well, I think the dugout will definitely be a little bit quieter. They're not very talkative, but they have so much potential and everything. I can see them making a big run next year and finishing something that we couldn't finish this last season. And I support them 100%. And if they ever need anything, I'm always available for them. And yeah, I think their potential is showing up this next season, and they're going to really show out.
Show out it is. And now we can talk about what's going to go on in Class 2 as well as the other classes in the spring of 2020, also in the fall of 2019. What's going to be different about all 5 classes and your conference of the SWCL? What do you think is going to be different? Say whether it's you guys, whether it's Billings, Blue Eye, Galena, Southwest, Sparta, Spokane, or Purdy. What's going to be different about each of those teams in the SWCL?
Well, Purdy's, until somebody shows different, Purdy's the team to beat. They came in their first year in the conference and won it. Not only won it, they ran through it. And just, of course, as far as classes, we won't know till early spring again what class we are or what district we're in or any of that stuff. So, everything goes through Purdy. I'm not saying anybody else in the conference isn't good. We could finish first, we could finish 7th or 8th, depending on how we show up, and every day you're only as good as your starting pitcher that day, and our pitchers have to step up and take. Nick took a lot of pressure off of some of our pitchers, and because they knew we had him there to go, every third or fourth game. Now it's going to be up to them that we don't have that. We've got to have some guys step up that haven't produced at the varsity level.
I think in the conference, the biggest thing will be there's a few teams who are towards the bottom of the conference who I think are going to be a lot better. We won't have as many games where obviously you want to expect to win every game. We still will. But I think overall it's going to even out a little bit, and there won't be, not that there are weak teams before, but, yeah.
Yeah, I think conference-wise it's going to be pretty even. The target obviously is going to be our back no matter who plays us, and same with Purdy and same with Billings, being at the top of the conference. So we just got to learn how to control that. And then, spring-wise, I'm sure our district will change, but we just got to prepare for everybody the same way. It doesn't matter what somebody looks like on paper. Baseball's a weird game. The worst team could beat the best team that day. It doesn't matter. We just got to prepare for every team the same way.
Baseball is a weird game, whether you're a player or a coach. And as we wrap up for today, if there are any final words you guys have to say for all the coaches that you played, including the coach you guys lost to, and Josh Hughes from Purdy, what would your final words be to Coach Josh Hughes from the Purdy Eagles from both the fall and the spring?
Well, right before the district championship game, Coach Hughes and I, we always meet with umpires in every game for every coach, but he said, and I believe him, and I mean it back to him, he said, I'm glad it's going to be one of us. And, if you don't understand what that means, he said, if he couldn't win it, he wanted us to win it. And I'm the same. If we couldn't win it, I'm okay with him winning it. You never root for somebody else, because that's just not how we work. But, if you have to lose, at least we lost to someone that shows class and their kids play the game the right way. And, that's what I always have to say going out to them.
Really, Coach Hughes is one of my favorite, other coaches to talk to, be around, even coach against. Even as a player, he was that guy. As a player, I didn't know much about him, but he's a big character, has a big personality, so you definitely knew who he was. And once you start to really get to know him, he's one of the best guys I've met. So I really love being around him. He's a great guy. I love playing against him too.
It's fun to see what he does every year with the teams he has. On paper we'll say, oh, they're not going to be as good, and somehow he turns them into something no one ever thought they'd be. We're glad to have them as rivals because it makes us better, and we're looking forward to playing them again in the fall and see how we stack up.
Coach Hughes has a classy team, and I've always loved playing against them because you never really knew which Purdy team you were playing against, whether it was the pitching dominant Purdy team or the hitting dominant or just bunting every at person. So it was really fun, and you never really knew what was going to happen with playing against them.
Also, one more thing to talk about before we wrap up is the Coach of the Year, also some players and plays of the year. A few players from Crane, as well as Coach Bryan Harmon, you were nominated for the Ozarks Sports Report Coach of the Year, and also a couple plays from this year were in the running for the Player of the Year. So what makes you guys say about what each player has in mind to become a Player of the Year from Ozarks Sports Report, and also a specific play becomes a Player of the Year?
Well, for a guy to become a Player of the Year, he can't focus on, I want to be the Player of the Year. He can't go into a game as a pitcher and say, I'm going to strike out 12 guys tonight, or I'm going to, at the plate, I'm going to go for 4 for 4, or I'm going to make this diving play. They have to focus on the process, and then everything else takes care of itself. If they focus on what it takes to be a great player, then that process will lead to them becoming a great player if they don't lose the process. If they just want to be a great player but don't want to focus on the process, they're just going to be mediocre, and they're going to be below what they think they should be.
I think the biggest thing, especially when it comes to the play of the year, is anything that's going to get noticed like that. No player's ever jogged after a ball or tried to make that play. Those happen at full sprint. They happen instinctually. It's nothing you can really try and do. Got to be athletic. Got to play hard. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, kind of like what Coach Harmon said. In the Player of the Year is, I can think of guys on our team. I can think of multiple guys on Purdy, on Billings, and other guys in the conference that could really have a hot fall and a hot spring that really become the Player of the Year. But it takes them being consistent. It takes them trusting the process and sticking to it.
I agree with everything they've been saying, and
That's what makes him a smart guy. He agrees with us.
Sure does. And now, Coach Harmon, you were in the running for the Ozarks Sports Report Coach of the Year. What makes you think you were in the running for the Ozarks Sports Report Coach of the Year? What would you say for yourself, as well as the other coaches and Nick Brent? What would you guys say that makes Coach Harmon a runner for the Coach of the Year?
Well, probably because I give a ride home to the guy that picks the guys for the Coach of the Year. Now, it's always humbling to be in that conversation, but I'm not in it for personal gain, but I want to be Coach of the Year every year. Do you know why? Because the Coach of the Year is somebody who wins. So if I'm Coach of the Year, that means I had a good team, and these guys are here to push me and make me better, and they take the parts of the game that I allow them to be in charge of, and they help with that, but they also help with everything. Coach Stump was one of the state assistant coaches of the year last year from the Missouri Coaches Association. So, I just want to recognize their effort and show. I've had a lot of assistants over the years, but these two guys work as hard as any of them, and have learned from some of the best, and continue to push themselves. I was just talking to a former assistant coach, Coach Davis, the other day, and he was, we were just talking baseball, and he was talking about, well, what are your assistants focus on? He's still trying to learn, and he's definitely one of the best assistant coaches in the state. And if he was a head coach, he'd be one of the best head coaches in the state. But he wants to know, what do your assistant coaches work on? What are they trying to improve on? Because he wants to improve too.
I think, coaching in general, you can really tell, a good coach. I think to me, a good coach isn't one who, had a great year one year. It's the ones who consistently have something going every year. But then, at the same time, there's coaches who have really bad years too. You can coach all you want, but sometimes you got to kind of give it to the kids, and you can only really have as good enough team as the players you've got.
Yeah, and I think Coach Harmon's a little bit more humble than he needs to be. I feel like he's created a program ever since he's taken it over that's competitive every year, and I know we get everybody's best every time we play them just because of who we are, and I think it's because of what Coach Harmon's done.
Yeah, Coach Harmon has the mentality of winning. and he does it with trying to keep us safe and build us to go as far as we can player-wise. And his only goal is just to win while keeping us safe.
Standing by with the head coach of the Crane Pirates baseball team, Coach Bryan Harmon, after a huge 22-5 victory over Exeter. Coach, what was the main focus going into tonight's game against Exeter?
Well, after last night's tough loss, we really just wanted to come out and assert ourselves and jump ahead early. And we struggled a little bit early. That first pitcher they had was tough. And once we got going, bad hitting is contagious and good hitting is too. And the bats kind of caught fire and had some good things. Bryson Brandstetter hit the ball extremely well. Chase Conrad pitched it well and hit it well. And a lot of guys all through the lineup did a good job.
Chase Conrad gave you 4 innings of good pitching tonight. What was the main staple for Chase Conrad to go out tonight and deliver this big win and just mostly add those big runs in tonight's game?
Well, with 6 games this week, we got to really be efficient with our pitching, and Chase did a good job. Through 49 pitches through 4, we got him out of there. Sets him up to be able to bounce back on Saturday in one of the 2 games, and we'll have Nick Brannon be able to throw the other one. We're going to be in good shape. We just expected Chase to go out and it's his first career varsity appearance on the mound, and he just did a great job and did exactly what we expected.
You go back home, you play Wheaton on Thursday night. It's going to be before the big tournament that's going to be coming up on Friday night and Saturday night. What are you going to be bringing to the dinner table against Wheaton on Thursday night?
Buddy Bowling will be making his varsity debut on the mound, and we expect him to go out and give us a good effort and throw strikes and keep us in the game defensively. And we want the bats to come alive, kind of like they did tonight. And if those things will happen, then we could get us a second win in a row.
If you have any final words to say to the head coach of the Exeter Tigers, what would your final words be to the head coach of the Exeter Tigers?
Coach Tripp does a good job. He's got 10 kids tonight, and he worked them in there, and he got a couple lefties that are going to be really good. They're going to be a force in Class 1 again this year, and just tell him, keep working, keep pushing those kids.
Thanks for taking the time with us, Coach Harmon. Enjoy this big win, and we'll talk to you on Thursday night at home against Wheaton.
Thank you, Adam.
Keep us safe it is, and that will wrap up for today's show for today. We hope you enjoyed our show. We hope you enjoyed us sitting down with one senior and the coaches from the Crane Pirates. Nick Brannon, Coach Bryan Harmon, Coach Tyler Martin, and Coach Clay Stump. If you want to stay connected with the Crane Pirates through their social media, be sure to like them on Facebook. Also follow them on Twitter. Their Twitter is at Crane_Coach. Once again, it's Crane_Coach on Twitter. Also check out their website. Their website is at crane.k12.mo.us. MO for Missouri, US for the United States. If you'd like to stay connected with Ozarks Sports Report through our social media, be sure to like us on Facebook. Also follow us on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, and check out our website. Our website is ozarksportsreport.wixsite.com/ozarksportsreport. One final time, we want to thank head coach Bryan Harmon along with assistant coaches Tyler Martin and Clay Stump and player Nick Brannon for sitting down with us for the season recap. And we also congratulate the Crane Pirates on a tremendous season, going 25-20 overall, 14-8 in the fall, and 11-12 in the spring. One final time, I'm Adam Smith from the Ozarks Sports Report saying, have a good day, everybody.